Merhaba from the Istanbul Coffee Festival. Hello, coffee people. I'm very happy to be here with you today, despite the COVID-19 situation and circumstances. I'm very glad to be sharing with you this moment, sharing with you these important highlights and the mysticism beneath the Guatemalan coffees. My name is Andrea Vergara. I work for Cafe, which is the Guatemalan National Coffee Association, and I look after the national and international promotion of the Guatemalan coffees as a coordinator. So I'm very glad to be here with you sharing all of this information. And I would like to start sharing a little bit of what we are. We are an organization founded in the year of 1960 with the main purpose of functioning as the leader and representative of all coffee producers at the national level, and of course, look as an objective after a sustainable, competitive, and high-quality coffee industry. So those are our main goals as an association, and of course, to be the supporter of the Guatemalan coffees brand as the strategy to promote our coffees all around the world. So I believe many of you are all already familiar with this brand. And if you're not familiar, after this presentation, you'll get a lot more familiarized with the Guatemalan coffees brand. So this is a little bit of what we do here as in Cafe as an association. We represent more than 125,000 producers at the national level, and we have production in almost every region of our country. This is equivalent to 305,000 hectares of coffee growing area. And you can see in this map our main brands that we have constructed in order to promote our coffees. And further on in the presentation, we will go and deepen a little bit more in each one of these coffee growing regions and to understand how they are different in their crop profile, although they are grown all in the same area that is Guatemala. The importance of coffee. Coffee is really important for us as Guatemalans and also for our economy because it creates over 500,000 jobs each year. This includes the direct and indirect employment, and is the agricultural product that constitutes the highest employment source in Guatemala. So it's very, very important for our economy. And as you can see in the chart, it's the third most important agro-industrial exports of the country, accounting for 6.6% of the total exports of Guatemala. Usually we are in the top 3. And the first place is always being in a fight with bananas and sugar, but it depends on the global economy and how commodities are working and functioning and behaving in the international market. So these are figures dated to December 2020, and we were placed as the third most important agri-industrial exports of the country, only being surpassed by cardamom and bananas. So coffee is very, very important for our economy. In the leading export countries, we are in the top 10. In the 10th position, you can see these leading export countries are being, number 1 position is Brazil, then Vietnam and Colombia are the leading countries in production and exportation. But what is important to see here is that Guatemala is placed as the 5th most important Arabica producing country that exports Arabica coffee. So although we are at the 10th position, we are also the 5th most important country producing Arabica variety and exporting this variety to the world. So we produce good coffee, we produce good amounts, we export as well good amounts to many, many places around the world, and we will see where this coffee from Guatemala goes. So the big question, what makes Guatemalan coffees so special? That's the big question all of you are asking right now. what makes us different to other coffees around the world, or even other coffees in Central America. So we're proud to state that the high altitudes, the major geographic influences that we have in Guatemala make our coffee very, very special and unique. We have the influences of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. We have the influences of large crater lakes, which make our soil really, really rich. We have floodplains, volcanoes, which make also this volcanic soil really full of minerals and nutrients. We have high mountain ranges, and all of these combine to create the more than 300 microclimates that we have in Guatemala in an area of 67,000 square miles. And of course, all of these different microclimates generate a lot of different cup profiles and mark differences in our cup profiles in each of the different regions. So we will see how all of these conditions influence a lot the cup profile of our different coffees. Another point is that we have an artisanal process throughout the whole value chain. This means that our coffee is hand harvested, which allows the correct selection of beans in the plant, then in the wet milling. We also make a selection to select the most appropriate grains and to make that division. And then in the dry mill, we also make a selection of the grains to again make a third selection and have this separation of the grains with the higher quality and those grains that didn't achieve that quality, but also good grains. So all of this artisanal process of division, of selection, makes our coffee very, very special and very unique. And last but not least, we are recognized worldwide for being cultivated under shade. 98% of our coffee is shade grown. And what does this mean? This means that the shade trees benefit a lot at the environment and the plant as well. One of the benefits is, and one of the most important, is that it moderates the intensity of sunlight that arrives to the coffee plants, regulating the process of respiration in the plant and the photosynthesis. And what does this mean? This means that it allows the coffee beans in the coffee plant to mature slowly, improving the attributes of body and acidity in the cup. So all the process of photosynthesis undergoes a slower process that permits the generation of more complex flavors within the coffee bean. So this is very, very important at the end when we are having a cup of Guatemalan coffee, because all of this process is then translated to the final cup. As well, the shade trees protect the coffee roots and leaves of the coffee plants from damage. This is because the coffee trees intercept the rainfall and the amount of water that slowly is released to the soil. So it does not come directly to the soil, but it comes slowly, preventing the erosion and maintaining humidity in the soil. So this is very, very beneficial for the plant and for the process that the coffee plant goes within the whole year. This, of course, means that the coffee plants retain 70% more humidity than their full sun counterparts. So the plant is always having that necessary humidity and water for the development of the process, the nutrition, and the photosynthesis, and of course, the born of the grain, the flour, the grains, and then all of the process that ends in the final cup. We have also the Inga variety, which is the most popular shade tree in Guatemala. And the Ingas have, and you can see them in this picture at the left, those are Ingas, have the unique ability to convert nitrogen gas in the atmosphere into a usable form through a process called nitrogen fixation. This process improves the fertility of the soil and reduces the need for chemical fertilizers. So as you can see, the shade brings a lot of benefits to the plant that we don't always see, or we don't always tangibilize or write or follow, but all of these are benefits for the environment and for the plant. And at last, we have the decaying leaves that are the decaying leaves from these shade trees. They add a layer of organic matter, providing important nutrients to the soil and helping the curb that grows and the weed to maintain it low. So this is really, really, really important. And that's why our shade is so important for Guatemala, for the environment, and for our coffee production. The coffee forest that is made, summing up the coffee trees and summing up the coffee plants, it's a total of 38 million shade trees and coffee plants, accounting for a total area of 305,000 hectares, 7% of the total national forest cover. So really, really important and really valuable for our ecosystems. And as I was mentioning before, where does this special coffee go to? Where are the top export destinations of our coffee? So we have our most important commercial ally, or what we can name it, is the United States of America. 37% of our coffee goes to the United States. And then North America is made adding up or summing up the United States and Canada. So those two make the 49% of our destinations of the coffee that leaves Guatemala. And then very, very important, the second most important continent is Asia. Some years ago, the second most important continent was Europe. So now we're seeing the growing importance of Asia and the demand they are having for our coffee, for the Guatemalan coffee. Then we have Europe, and in the part of Europe, we can see Belgium, Germany, Italy as the most important countries. Here it is important to note that not always the countries that are taking our coffee are the ones that are consuming our coffee. Some of these are ports where the coffee it's imported and then re-exported to other countries, either in Europe or either in other parts of the world as a raw material, as a green coffee, or as a finished product, a roasted coffee, or a transformed product. So really, really important to see this in this pie, that not always the buyer is the final consumer. And then in the part of Asia, we have really important South Korea, China, Taiwan, and then the others that make around 1%. Very important to note here that Germany increased its imports from Guatemala versus the last coffee harvest in plus 20%. Then we have South Korea with plus 31%, then China with plus 60%, and Taiwan plus 40%. So those were the countries that increased a lot more their imports of Guatemalan coffee versus the last coffee harvest. And then talking to the relative new markets, we have Turkey with plus 20%, the Emirates with plus 44%, Saudi Arabia plus 20%. This is really, really important to note that some years ago, maybe Turkey was getting, or still now, was getting their coffee through these importers in Europe or other parts of the world. But now we are seeing that they are taking, or that you're taking directly this coffee from origin. So you are making all of this transportation directly from Guatemala to Turkey without passing by intermediaries or people or importers along the value chain. So this is very important. We're also seeing that the westernmost part of the Asiatic continent is experiencing a very accelerated growth in their coffee imports. And this phenomenon is really carried by younger generations, which are leading this phenomena, which are very young and curious generations. They're getting into coffee, getting more involved, and they're pushing this wave of coffee really, really hard in the Asian westernmost part of the continent. According to the ICO, between the year 2008 and 2018, 10 years period, coffee imports grew in Saudi Arabia, plus 42%, in Turkey, plus 192%, and in the Emirates, plus 249%. So we are seeing the great demand, the great growth, and the great interest you are having in our coffee and in our specialty coffee we are producing. With the exception of the Emirates, the re-exportation of coffee in these countries is very, very low, which means that what is imported actually is consumed in the country. So this is also a fact we need to take into account to understand all of these numbers and what is happening in the market. As we can see here, the Turkish market exports by type, clear interest in our strictly hard bean coffee, which is the high quality coffee grown above 1,300 meters above sea level. And we can also see that the demand is increasing year after year, gaining importance of the Guatemalan coffees and the interest of our coffee in your market. So thank you very much for all of this data. We can see here, and as product or result of the huge interest the Turkish market is having in our coffee, we have been participating for 2 years now, before the pandemic started, and with the help and coordination of our embassy in Turkey, we have been participating in the Istanbul and Ankara coffee festivals with very good results, a very good participation, and a very good interest from the market in our coffee. So here you can see some pictures and some presentations we have been making along these trade shows. Then, as I mentioned, I would like to end up this short presentation, digging a little bit more and inviting you to dive in and give a closer look to each of these magical regions we have in Guatemala, and to understand that the perfect combination of all of these factors I have mentioned before produce exquisite high altitude coffees with a delicious aroma, with a pleasant acidity and a lot of body and a delicate sweetness. So I will leave you with this very short video.
The Guatemalan Coffees brand has been a successful international marketing strategy that has highlighted different coffee regions in the country. All coffees from Guatemala develop a delicious aroma, acidity, brightness, consistent body, and delicate sweetness. In every coffee region of the country, these attributes have special characteristics which result in unique cup profiles. Acatenango, bright acidity, prolonged aftertaste. Antigua, elegant and balanced, particularly sweet. Atitlan, citric acidity and a lot of body. Coban, fruity notes, fine body. Fraijanes, pronounced acidity, defined body. Huehuetenango, fine acidity, winey notes. New Oriente, a lot of body, chocolate flavor. San Marcos, floral notes, pronounced acidity.
Thank you very much for being here. Keep loving our Guatemalan coffee and supporting our producers, and never forget that behind every cup of coffee there is a Guatemalan family. So cheers!